Welcome to the Money Maven Project podcast. If you're here to learn how to obtain freedom over your time and money through real estate investing, you're in the right place. Create the life you want by living with intention and becoming a maven in mindset, money, and real estate. Now, here's your host, Justin Monk.
Welcome, everybody, to the Money Maven Project podcast. I'm super excited about our guest today. Steve Spray is here with us. Welcome, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on, Justin. This is awesome. Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think we're going to really talk about some stuff that can really change people's mindsets and their lives in general. So Steve is the director of sales for Cardone Automotive Resources. Steve has worked alongside international business expert and mogul Grant Cardone. If you know Grant Cardone, he's been there for 8 years in Miami, Florida with him, where they have multiple businesses doing $150 million a year in sales, which is crazy, man. So tell us, how did you? I mean, man, you work for Grant Cardone. That's pretty cool. Let's just start right there. But how did you end up there? Yeah. Give us some of your history. What brought you to that point, and then we'll go in.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and right outside there, I grew up on a farm, and long story short, grew up around a lot of people that did construction. Like my family had rental houses and things, and I kind of grew up in that environment where they're always working and building, and so I got a work muscle like really early on, and I think I was the only kid in my middle school to actually have a job, because you were allowed to work at fast food restaurants when you turned 14. So so I'm sure there's probably a lot of listeners that had that experience, and things like that really carried into me in the later years that really helped me advance fast. So fast forward a couple years, I'm in construction, coming out of high school and into college. I'm doing that, and it just wasn't my deal. I needed something that was I needed a little bit more opportunity from the standpoint that where I was, I wasn't in a position, I didn't know enough to start my own business at that time. So that wasn't in the cards for me. So I literally needed to go to a place where I could do sales or something. And I did that. And a couple of years later, I found Grant Cardone, and, he helped me out in sales just to do better at what I was doing. And, what ended up happening was he was doing a reality TV show to hire.
Yeah.
And so I came down, I applied for that. I came down and ended up winning the first show that they did, and ended up getting a job, man, and start. So I moved from Indiana down to Miami, and, tons of war stories along the way. But, in a nutshell, that was how it started.
Yeah, dude, I didn't know that you were a contestant on the show. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, if you look it up online, it's called Whatever It Takes.
Yeah. I've heard it, and I've seen little clips of it, but I've never actually dialed in and watched any of it. So I don't watch a lot of TV in general. So
yeah.
But I may have to. That'd be funny. I'd like to see 8 years ago struggling to get into the ring there.
Yeah, it was really tough. There was all these different types of, drills and pressure, and you had to pitch him, and, he was shooting people with paintball guns in the interview process. And it's stuff that you could only do on a television show and not actually in real life. So it's all the things that a boss might want to do, but
so cool
just to kind of test people. So it was cool.
That's awesome. So you've been there 8 years. Tell us, maybe give us some of the big, I'm sure that over the 8 years, there was some aha moments of where the way you think and the way you act really shifted, and it was a big lesson learned. Can you think of any of those kind of milestones over the 8 years where things really changed for you?
Yeah. The first milestone was just being there. I'm sure you probably talk a lot about getting around the right people, and I literally cannot say enough that probably the number one success hack in the entire world is just being around the right people. Because it just changes your viewpoint on what's possible.
Yeah.
And so, without me having really any type of experiences there at all. I mean, when you're brand new in an organization or a group or to a city, you're really curious about what's going on. You're just like, everything's fresh and new. And so I can tell you that just without any experiences, the first thing was just getting into an environment where, man, everything was possible, and in an environment where like people weren't talking about what can't be done. They were just talking about, okay, well, man, that'd be crazy if we did that. So like, how do we do it? And I think just, kind of being in that and knowing that like, it doesn't matter where you're from. Like, I could sit here all day long and talk about, all the bad things that happen to the bad situations that, my life was presented with. But man, I'll tell you what, when I got out and in and around the right people, just being able to see that was a big difference. So I think that was probably the first thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What other milestones or big shifts in your mindset?
Man, I'll tell you what, like, just knowing that you can really learn anything. When I first got there, like I'd never done sales over the phone, and I really wasn't even sure what I was going to be doing, but I knew it had to be something like that. I just hadn't really thought it through. So when I got there, we were actually cold calling because he wasn't as big as he is right now. We were cold calling companies and trying to sell them a training program. Well, yeah. I don't know if you know this, but man, training is like one of the hardest things in the world. It's not advertising, dude. Everybody does advertising. Yeah. Barely anybody does training. So
yeah, right.
And this is really something that you've got to change people's mind on too. So I'm doing one of the hardest jobs in the world. I'm like cold calling, and I'm like trying to flip people into doing something that they haven't done before, especially when they've already been successful. So really working through that and learning how to do it. And it gave me the confidence that, dude, I can do anything. And, Grant always told me, he said, he would always come in and he'd always look at me and he'd always say, hey, he said, you learn how to do this, then you can do anything. And it was just cool knowing that, man, if I did that and I learned how to do well at it, it gave me the confidence to know that I can do anything. So, maybe for your listeners right now who, they may be thinking about getting into real estate, or they want that first deal, or they're thinking about, man, how do I even get in and what do I start doing? Just know that everything is possible to be learned. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things for me, just, and then there's many levels of that too. So it was exciting to go through because, getting a deal is one thing. And then, and then shifting gears to, okay, well, I had a goal. How do I make $10,000 in 1 month? I mean, I remember knowing that, man, if I could ever do that, that would be a game changer. And I remember like hitting that target and like I was on fire. Like that was one of the most important things for me, I think, because I had that goal for a while. And I always wonder what it would be like to be there, and once I got there, like something opened up for me where I could actually see that, dude, why I was almost like, man, why did I have this goal when like, I almost felt like, man, if I could do this, I could probably do 10 times this, and at that moment, it just made everything possible.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I'm gonna ask about 10X because that's a perfect segue into it. But before, you're in a gig that's super hard, especially in the early days there. What did you do? I mean, how do you just keep grinding that out, man? How did you push through the difficulty of learning that skill and the tough days of cold calling? Because that is not easy.
It's not, and I feel like it was so hard. And, there was a guy there that was ahead of me. He's now the president of the company, but, he was there and like, he was already doing well. And I just remember like telling myself, like he was this, almost like, you get into like the jet stream, and you can like go faster, man. Like I was just following this guy. Like he was almost like my big brother that I was trying to pay attention to him. I was like, what's he doing? Like I started to like really figure out like, hey, what is he doing that I'm not doing? And he was really like a guiding light for me because I just kept telling myself, I'm like, dude, seriously, like if this guy did it, I have got to be able to do this. And I started to get almost like that competitive. It was more like competitive. It was almost like this thing where I was like, dude, if this guy can do it, like I have to be able to do this. So I finally created the game that needed to be created. And then I could, like any game, like any game you've ever played, you play it long enough, you start to figure it out and you get really good at it. So
and you play to win.
That's right.
So that's a perfect circle back around to your networking, getting around the people that are pulling you up and dragging you along and pulling you through those tough days. That's perfect. I mean, you look at anybody, no matter what your goal is or what you're trying to accomplish, you find somebody that's been there and has accomplished that in some way, and just ride their coattails, figure it out, use them as a mentor if you need to, but just feed off of that energy, because if they can do it, you can do it. I don't think there's anything special about some of that. So that's
there's so much. Yeah, there's so much power in that. And I learned that lesson too. So, where I'm at today is a different story. And, I haven't lost that, thinking of, hey, what's next? I haven't lost that. I haven't got to a place where like, I think I know it all, even though, I've hit some super big milestones. I've probably done some things that most people haven't in their life, that, everybody's trying to work towards, and I've been fortunate to get there, but it hasn't, if anything, I understood that that's what helped me. And so like, I haven't stopped asking questions. I haven't stopped looking for, hey, who's done this? And I just want to get my advice from those people, because you're going to get advice from a lot of people. Like, I think that's probably one of the issues with having, the wrong people around you, because everybody will give you advice, but I want to take advice from the source, like somebody who's done it, because that's what's going to give me what I need to get it done quicker. Yeah,
man. And what a great train to be on with Grant Cardone. That's so cool. Okay. So now talk to us about 10X, right? Somewhere in that 8 years, right? The idea of 10X, I don't know when he wrote the book, the 10X rule, but somewhere in that, I mean, you started to see this 10X principle. Explain to our listeners what that is in basic terms, and then kind of how you've been applying it to your life and your career there.
Yeah, it's like a manual for how to get whatever you want. And, it is a book that I am looking at all of the time. I'm listening to it all the time. I'm revisiting, I'm rewatching it, because it lays out the rules. It lays out the roadmap for what you need to do specifically to get exactly what you want. And it lays out the challenges and barriers that you're going to deal with, whether it's, people, things that you run into. And 10X is a multiplier. 10X is something that, Grant really realized that, hey, listen, I kept coming up short on my targets, and it was my fault because I had an underestimation of effort. And if you notice, a lot of people set out to do goals, but they underestimate what it takes to get there. So that's where they don't finish on deadlines. That's where they come up short. That's where, they have a loss and they get exhausted because, man, they didn't plan on it taking, there being a loss along the way. So then they get discouraged when that book is telling you that, hey, you need to 10X on your action. If you want to make $1 million, you need to build a plan, and it's more about the think.
Yeah.
It's about the way you think things, because if you look at, okay, let's say I want to make $1 million, but if I laid out a plan that said, hey, what's the plan? What if I just look at a different roadmap that says, hey, how do I get to $10 million? And then what if I just ran that play versus this play that was going to take me to $1 million? Man, what if I ended up short on that goal? Would I hit my $1 million target? Probably. And this could be with anything, it's not just with money. It's with the relationships that you have. It's with, goals that you set. And so this book really lays out, hey, what does it take? What does it require? How much actions as a plural word do you need to take to get to where you want to go? And so it's been an awesome book. It's been unbelievable. It's in the top 20 business books of all time on iTunes. And obviously, millions of people around the world have really taken to that message.
Yeah. So what would you say, what's your advice, or what tip would you give to somebody that's just kind of starting out on their journey, whether it's real estate, whether maybe they're in car sales, it doesn't matter what they're doing, but they're starting out on a journey, they're chasing some goals. What tips or advice would you give them to help them apply this 10X principle? Like what kind of thought process or maybe practice should you have them use?
Well, I think there's two ways that you can learn things. You can learn about it by reading and seeing what other people have done, and you can take that, or you can go do it yourself. And I think both of those strategies take a long time. So I think if you can figure out, hey, how do I play both sides of that?
Yeah.
How do I actually do it and learn from people who have done it before? That way I could just advance myself and really move at a much quicker, because one thing is that, look, if you can just learn from people's mistakes, like think about how much time, energy, effort, money you would actually save if you just knew the pitfalls.
Yeah.
And so there's some benefits into learning, but you run into those things where, look, at some point you got to go do it. You can't just learn. This is the phenomenon that you see if you've ever had like a friend or somebody that you've known that, like, they went 4 years or 6 years college, and they get out of college and they can't even really apply what they learned because they never actually had any application at all. That's a true thing, and you don't want to fall victim to that. But what you also don't want to do is you don't want to be the one who's like, hey, I'm just gonna hard knocks it and learn it. Like, man, there's so much good information, like, your podcast. There's ways to learn about things, So I would say get as much information on it as possible, but at the exact same time, start working on it, start doing it, because the doing this is what's going to get you where you want to be anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So what's the next level for Steve Spray? I mean, where are you headed? What do you got in mind? What are some goals that you're chasing down right now?
Yeah, there's always next levels. Right now I basically work in the company. We're trying to grow out a massive sales team right now, so I'm trying to take us where we're at right now. And, we're trying to get to our target is $1 billion company, and the plans that we have laid out is for that, and, nobody's really done that in our space. So, that's all the reason why to do it, so it's fun to do. I invest in multifamily real estate. Most of my targets are there. I see that vehicle being, real estate's just such a beautiful vehicle. And obviously I know most of your listeners are real estate investors, and there's so many ways to make money in real estate. And it's so attractive to me because I feel like you can get creative with it. Like I do love the hands-on part. I love seeing the works of it happening. I love the money behind it. I love the cash flow. Like, I love the appreciation. I have a lot of respect for like the art of this investing side. So I spend a lot of time, really looking at that, and, I'll end up buying my own deals at some point, but, now I invest passively with Cardone Capital, and, I love it. So I'm just working away and trying to,
not a bad place to put your money.
Going.
Man,
totally.
I'll bet on that guy any day of the week.
No, it's been amazing, man. It's some of the deals I've done have paid me incredibly. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. So, oh man, I had a good question. I just forgot what it was, but, what was I going to ask? Dang it. So talk to me about, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So sales, you at Cardone, with Cardone, you sell Cardone University, which is a sales training platform. Now, this is by no means an advertisement for that, but I think you could give us some good advice on how a sales skill and ability and an expertise in that can apply to real estate, can apply to anywhere in life. Like, I'm sure, because you sell this product to all kinds of companies. And I'm sure you've seen how applicable that sales skill is, and how important becoming a sales expert is. So tell us kind of what you've learned about that over the course of the time there.
Yeah, well, there's so many aspects to business. There's the promotion side of it. There's the branding. There's the sales. There's the service, and so that is going to apply with anything. It's going to apply with if you're a real estate investor. You're going to have to go out. If you want to buy like the types of deals that my company invests in, like the big real estate deals. It is a sales job to get the deal. Like you've got to sell yourself, your company. It's not just about who pays the highest price.
Yeah.
That's not always, the types of deals that they're buying. That's not always who gets the deal. That's not the way those big multifamily deals work. And so it's always a sales. It's always a negotiation.
Yeah,
so
even as a buyer, you got to have sales skills, which Cardone points out all the time. Like it's totally crazy, but it feels backwards. But you need to be able to sell even as the buyer, which is what real estate investors are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine for you, like you're driving around town, you're shopping deals. Maybe you find something that's off market. That's a sales thing. Like you're going to have to understand a sales cycle. You're going to have to understand, identifying, dominant motives that would actually move that person. You need to be able to present yourself. You need to be able to, negotiate a deal. You need to be able to close on that deal.
Yep.
You'd need to be able to actually see a deal through, which means you would need to be able to follow up. You would need to know that game. So learning the sales game to me has been one of the most important things. Like I see this as probably it's the most important education I think that I've had on anything, because I just know the value of what it's going to give me moving forward, no matter what I do. And I would just encourage all the listeners too, pick up this skill set. You're not hearing a lot of successful people in the world not say this. Like they're all saying it.
Yeah.
Mark Cubans of the world is saying, "Hey, dude, you need sales."
Yeah.
The Grant Cardone's is saying, "Get sales." A lot of these people are saying, "Hey," I mean, and it's the major part of any business. And so, is it the only thing? No, there's still promotion and branding and connections and networking and things like that. And so, there's not a end all be all, but man, it's very important.
No, it's exactly right. And so somebody that's they're trying to flip houses and they're trying to negotiate with the seller. They're face to face. They're going through the purchasing process, and they get objections and they get obstacles. Like I think some of the most, it's all valuable, but, and so just so you know, so the listeners know, I work for a solar company that has been using Cardone University it's been like 3 years now. And I agree with you. It is some of the best. I've been in sales for like 10, 12 years, and it's some of the best sales training I've ever ran into. So I will just plug that for a second right there, because I feel like it's so valuable. But the content in there and the skills that you learn to overcome objections, to isolate, validate, figure out if it's the real objection, because sellers will always give you the fake one, right? There's always layers to those objections, and filling out what's the right one so you can negotiate with that seller and pick up the property is huge, man.
Take that one thing that one thing that you're talking about right now. Now, most people, they don't want to spend the time and energy and effort to actually learn this skill, and it's because they don't understand. What happens is, if you didn't study this information and know that, hey, when somebody says this, maybe they mean something different, how do you uncover what they really mean? If you hadn't have done that training, man, when you're negotiating these deals, they may have said something and it went over your head and it was almost like you didn't hear it, and maybe you would have lost the deal. So as an investor, think about how important that skill really is, just knowing, so you can spot when somebody is uncertain about closing the deal. Imagine how much money you would lose out just in your lifetime not being able to pick up on those simple signals.
Yeah.
And that's why sales is everything. It's because it's just about knowing what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of new investors getting into real estate realize how valuable that negotiation skill and that sales skill is, even as the buyer. I don't think anybody even thinks about that initially. And another huge thing that's taught through the university there is the follow-up. Like it's a 10x level of follow-up. And so anybody out there that's sending direct mail, or they're driving for dollars, dialing for dollars, whatever they're doing to find those distressed properties or those deals, it's going to take way more action, way more effort than you think. That's the whole 10x rule. And Carter University teaches you all these different mentalities around follow-up, different tactics of follow-up. And I know this is sounding like a total advertisement for it, but it's not. But regardless of where you learn the skill, you need to learn how to sell, and you need to learn the value of dedicated, persistent follow-up. Because you send one direct mail piece, it's not going to work. It's just not. And I mean, even in the solar side where I sell solar, like, I have followed up with people for 6 years, and finally they're like, okay, we're ready. And it just blows me away. And we're picking up deals all the time in the solar side where, it's been 2-3 years of follow up. Every 30 to 45 days, we're following up and finally like, oh yeah, hey, we're ready now. And we wouldn't be picking those deals up if we weren't following up. And the same thing, I mean, I don't do a ton of direct mail yet. I'm picking up all my deals on the MLS, which is crazy, but so I don't do a lot of that. But the mentality for those people that are, it's got to be this 10x level of follow up and shifting your mindset around what it's going to take. So that's another huge skill I think people need to understand.
Well, it might be one of the most important, to be honest. It's if you can understand just the dynamics of the follow up and understand, like, hey, what is it? How often should I be doing it? What are some best practices? What am I even really doing here other than just, calling somebody? If it's just more than that and you can understand it, the value is huge because, think about that person that you're trying to call. Maybe you're trying to get an off market deal, or you're trying to get a listing, or you're trying to, whatever your job is, or whatever you're trying to accomplish. Think about sending out, maybe you send out 10 pieces of mail, but you just hit it was a timing issue. And then you gave up on a deal that, we're going into a situation now where, we just came out of a pandemic. Nobody really knows what's going to happen, but there's a lot of people talking about, hey, like a year or two from now, there's going to be a lot of things on sale. Yeah. And it's all about them knowing you. And so if they forgot about you because your mailers were sent 18 months ago, you're going to miss out on that deal. And that could have been a crazy deal of a lifetime, and that could have been the one deal that just changed everything for you. And you lost it because you just simply didn't follow up, so you don't want to lose deals because you didn't follow up.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And that's a huge thing. I mean, he talks about it in a lot of his books, and obviously in the university, that's that follow up and the sales skill. It's often overlooked by people. I mean, when you're getting into real estate, you're listening to real estate podcasts and you're learning, okay, where do I find deals? How do I fund them? How do I analyze the deal? But ultimately, in any real estate course, you've got to learn to negotiate. You've got to learn to sell as the buyer and be able to follow up persistently. So and all those skills, I think, are super valuable and often overlooked.
Yeah, totally. And, in that program, I mean, just to tell you, like, you're getting the sales training from the mind of a guy who's negotiated and bought and sold over $2 billion of real estate. You know what I mean? And so you got to understand that side of things. And a lot of the things, it's funny because I'm in the same room with them on a lot of different things, or like I'm hearing what's going on, or, and I'm hearing things that he uses. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 months later, I'm seeing that same thing be put into that program. And so it's really cool to have been able to see that. And, I don't think a lot of this stuff is super, super difficult. I think simply people just don't understand, like they don't know. And so and I think sales is big because if you don't know when somebody is not, communicating the right thing, like let's just say you call up about a property and you can't really identify why they would want to sell you that property, and you can't sell them on why you'd be the right person.
Right. There's
going to be an issue with you getting that deal, and then you're going to have to move on to the next one. And what happens is you're just going to end up the guy or the girl who just ends up with all the low hanging fruit that, dude, nobody wanted that stuff because it wasn't, there's a saying in our office and it says, the harder it is to get to, the more money it has.
Yeah.
And so we got that with like deals. Like if I'm trying to get a deal, the harder it is to get a deal. And maybe you've seen this, like some of the people that it took you 6 years to sell, they probably had 4 or 5 referrals coming right after that, you know?
Yeah. High value. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. No, I think those are that's all very good points. Talk to us more. So, refer back to my script here. So what do you think separates people? What do you think separates the people that succeed in achieving their goals, whether it's real estate or whatever journey they're on, from the people that don't and give up? What is the one thing? Maybe there's several things, but what would be the one thing that you would point out?
I think it's just people being able to see the future. I think the people that I've seen being successful, like they're viewing things from the future. They're seeing, like, they're talking about, hey, this is what we're going to get done versus, coming into an environment and saying, hey, what has somebody done here before?
Yeah.
Man, I the way I grew up, I wasn't really taught these types of things, like there's always these like limiting things that came from the past, but man, and you can tell when you're really talking to somebody who's like talking about the future, they're thinking about, dude, what's next? It's just the way they view things is different. I think viewpoint is so important. Just like anything, any of these good books that you read about, motivation or mindset, man, a lot of it just comes down to like how you even see things.
Yeah.
Like, do you see it as a problem or do you see it as an opportunity type thing?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the major keys. Like, I know your podcast is about mindset, and I couldn't really agree with that enough.
Yeah. I always say it. I think mindset is the number one thing. Like, if your mindset's broken, it doesn't matter what other skills you have and what other goals you set and what other meditation or, journaling or what, it doesn't matter what other tactics you use. If your mindset's broken, you're not going to get there. And so I'm always focused on, when I'm trying to help others, I'm always trying to understand their mindset. How are they thinking? What limiting beliefs do they have? What assumptions are they making that we just need to blow through? And that's always where I start. And for me, like and I'll ask you in a second, like, what do you do to keep your mind right? But for me, I am consuming constantly. I'm consuming content that I probably, even if I've heard it before, like the 10X rule, I'm listening to that probably once a quarter. Any of Cardone's content, and there's others out there that help me keep that mind right, keep my mind right. And I'm getting better because I've been doing it a while. I've been self-aware of when I've got an issue, I'm starting to be able to identify when my mind's not right. And I'm like, hey, we got to stop everything right now. I got to go read some book, watch some YouTube videos with Cardone or whoever your guy, like, I don't care who it is, but whoever helps you get your mind right, you've got to stop and get that figured out as quickly as possible, because you're not going to get where you need to go with the broken mindset. So what do you do to stay sharp, to keep your head right, man?
Man, there's a lot, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of counter intention to everything we're trying to do all the time. There's bad news, there's, fights, there's breakups, you name it. Same issues you have, I have, everybody else has. And so for me personally, I do personal development training every single day. So, same guy we've been talking about the whole time here, that's who I train with every single day. That's the first thing. But I think a lot about what you're talking about on the awareness thing is where you got to get to. I think you really got to get to a place where you can receive information or data or something somebody says, and you need to make a decision on it yourself. Not everything everybody says is true or correct. So don't grab things that people say and take that as like a stable piece of information, because you're going to be locked in. It'd be like trying to drive a car, but I got the wrong gas. I got an electric car, but I'm like trying to put gas in it. It's like, I'm like, why is this not working? It's like, dude, you're not, the connection's not correct. And so just being aware of like, man, where's this data coming from? Is it coming from the source? Like, what were the intentions behind what I heard? And that way I'm not getting affected by all this stuff. That way, I'm not, getting my mindset messed up, man, because it's a full-time job to like keep a good mindset, so you got to stay healthy. I'm a guy who wakes up every day. I run 2.5 miles every single morning. I try to eat healthy. I feel like that's some of the most important things. I remember when I didn't eat healthy and I'd always be getting tired and lethargic and like, dude, I got enough problems that I don't need to have a big, burrito like sagging me down. You know what I mean? So why add that to the possibility of things that are going to affect me?
No, that's perfect. And I think so. We've made a full circle here where we're back to being around people that also have the right mindset and aren't going to put out the poisonous statements and the poisonous complaints and the negativity. And so that's huge. I love that idea of if you can just get to the point where the people that are around you have the same mindset as you or a good mindset, that's super helpful. Now, we're never going to be able to be completely safe from negative comments and broken mindsets. So that awareness of being able to identify, whoa, that was what he just said is coming from a place or a mind that's struggling. It's not quite there. Whatever you want to say, like he's got an assumption or a limiting belief that's causing him to say that. And if you can recognize that and kind of put up a shield where you're like, no, that doesn't affect me. I don't believe that, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Like if somebody says, hey, like if you're talking about doing something and you got somebody around you that's like, you can't do that, then just ask them, well, why not?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody that's tried this and failed, and then also like look at the intention behind it. Like, man, was that person really trying to hurt you? No. So like, don't get all upset about it.
Yeah.
And it's don't take it personal.
Yeah.
So many people take everything personal and their life becomes a wreck. And it's like, they're the only ones that are having the issue. It's like, man, it's, so just the awareness, man, it's so big. Just to
That's huge. That's huge. And so going back to the 10X rule, man, and I've heard Cardone say this. I've heard others say this. Like, the biggest mistake I've made in my life is not thinking big enough. Whether it was in my solar career or just the real estate side, I'm always like it seems like every couple months I'm like, whoa, hold on, like, we gotta change the scale, go up again, like it's not big enough, like we figured that. I'm readjusting all the time because as I grow and my mind learns things and I see different opportunities, I'm like, that's not big enough, let's go. And a great example of that is so when I graduated college, God, I think I was like 25 or something. And I'm like, all right, okay, so I want to be able to make X amount by the time I'm 30. And I made it. Like 5 years later, I'm 35 now. 5 years later, I was like, oh, perfect. Made it. Like, I don't know how that happened, but I made it. And I just kind of went my merry way. But now that I've been introduced to the 10X rule and other ways of thinking, I've had some moments where I'm like, that goal should have been 10 times what it was. Because I would be in a different world right now if I would have 10 times that goal and made that. It would completely different trajectory. And there's no reason that I couldn't have made a multiple of 10 of that goal. And what I love about the 10X rule, and maybe you've seen this too, is when you set the goals that are 10 times what you think is possible or what you initially set, all of a sudden your mind starts to operate at a different level. Like, you get more creative, like the lights and the gears start spinning at a different speed. And all of a sudden you start to see ways that that's actually more possible. And I've seen that several times in the real estate side, especially, hey, there's no way I'm going to be able to buy a property by the end of the year. And then I'm like, no, let's do it. Let's figure out how do we buy 3 in the next 90 days? And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I figured out a different way to finance the deal, got more creative about things, and ended up buying a property by the end of the year. Didn't make it to 3, but I figured out how to make the 1. And that's why I love that mentality around it. It just, if you can jump to those bigger goals, you're gonna think and operate at a different level, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of things really where I have been able to witness that same phenomenon and felt like, maybe you and I achieved something like, dang, I should have went a little bit bigger. Grant always talks about, he has this saying, it says creativity follows commitment. And I think that phenomenon happened for you when you got really committed to it. You're like, why don't I just, instead of getting 1 property by the end of the year, let's try to figure out how to get 3 in the next 90 days.
Yeah.
But think about the way that you shift that. You weren't even excited about the first one.
No.
The one before, you were like, yeah, what if I could do that? Like there wasn't even any excitement. And then all of a sudden, like I even seen your eyes light up. You were like, but dude, what if I did 3 in the next 90? Like you were actually excited about that. And you were like, but dude, that's the game I should be playing, the bigger one. And I have been able to witness that just in my own life with like a number of different things, and so always getting your goals and taking it to the next level, I think, is really like reassessing all the time, because, production yields happiness. That is when I'm the most excited. That is when I'm, people are always worrying about, man, how do you stay excited all the time? Like, how do you stay motivated? Like, how do you do that? Like, man, it's goals, it's targets. It's like having a future. Like, it's so important. And, like I remember, it was, when I first, like I told you that thing earlier, when I always wrote down that, man, I can't wait till I make $10,000 in 1 month. And I remember I did that and I got there and I was like, dang, dude, like, man, if I could do this, how do I get $100,000? Like, what if I had that in my bank account, And then so I changed my target. So my next target was, okay, let's keep making this money. Let's try to raise it and let's start packing away so I could buy something, so I could invest in real estate. And I'll never forget, man, this is a great lesson I learned. So this is a kind of a story behind have good people around you. I remember I finally saved up. It was the first time I ever had $100,000 in my bank account. And I was leaving for lunch one day at the office, and I'm coming down the elevator and I'm walking out of the elevator, and Grant is walking, and I see him coming through, and he's got his big swag walk. He's coming through. Yeah. And we meet right there, and I didn't expect it, but man, the guy, he slaps me right on the chest, backhands me on the chest, and like stops me. I thought he was just saying, what's up, man? And he stopped me real hard like that. And he goes, how much money do you have in your bank account? And, and like, it was funny because he never asked me this before, but like, man, I just hit that 100K mark. So this was like a big thing for me. And it was really cool. So like, man, I'm ready to like tell him. And I said, dude, I got $100,000 in my bank account right now. Like, like I'm like crushing it, Yeah. I did it with swag and everything. And he goes, what are you doing? He said, you're broke. Why are you taking a lunch right now? And man, dude, man, I will never forget that, because that was the weirdest lunch I've ever had in my time. I mean, just walking out, and I'm walking, just imagine, like, because that was a lot of money for me at that time, where it was like, dude, I remember getting there, and when I did, and then I'm walking to lunch, and I'm just like, but you know what, man, that I'll never forget that lesson, because what had happened was I took that $100,000 and I invested it in real estate at that time, and I went all the way back to zero. So I went broke. And I was back to zero, man. I had to go after that next deal. And the fire that I had at that moment, where it was like, okay, dude, I did the 100K, and I had to readjust my targets, because now I was like, okay, now I need to get to 250 invested, man. I mean, I'm talking about the nitro boosters were on. Like, this is the moment that I found out that, man, there's some phenomenons that you can do just for yourself by, one, setting big goals, hitting targets, reassessing, moving on. And like, man, these are the secrets that aren't talked about. And man, my motivation was so high. Like, I was doing things that I had never done before. I was going after deals, closing deals that, man, I probably maybe even a year before that, dude, I wouldn't even have made the phone call.
Wow.
Let alone call up with the confidence to be like, going into like no, and like, man, that just brought so much certainty to the deal. And so there's just, and I'll just tie this all the way back to goals, mindset. This is the most important thing.
Yeah, man, that's a great story. I absolutely love that. And in Cardone, just out of the blue, like, boom, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing taking a lunch? Get back up there on the phones, man. Put that money in Cardone Capital and get back up there. Yeah, that's
a good boss right there. That's a good boss. Most other people would be like, hey, you know what? You did a good job. Take some time off, but not him, because he knew that wasn't my target.
No.
And he knew that I was way more capable.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? Hang it up at that time? And so for me, like, that's not my play, right? So he knew that I was like off purpose. And so he actually helped me in that time get back on purpose and then refocus to, hey, what am I really trying to do here? Because I knew that I wasn't going to stop, but I had to I was still hanging out with that success for a while. Like, you should acknowledge your successes, but dude, there's a fire that's waiting to be lit on that next target that you have, so it's just cool, man. Cool experience.
This is gold, man. This is such a valuable conversation. I think, especially even for me, like I know all this stuff, or I believe all this stuff, and I try and apply it as much as I can, but it's so good. And you have to be revisiting it. I think even if you start the 10X thing and you've got your big goals, you've got to be consistently coming back to it and checking, are they big enough? Are they right? I know I write my goals down. I write my long-term goals down every Sunday night, my shorter-term goals every morning, because you have to stay fresh on them and you have to reevaluate all the time. Because it's a moving target in a way, or should be, right? It should be consistently out there. And I think it's such a game changer. If you can get to that mindset, it's huge.
There's a secret, and he talks about it in the book. If you're taking too long on one goal, never lower a target.
Yeah,
actually raise. This is a secret. So almost probably everybody does the reverse of that, and that's where they end up with failures, and that's where they end up not motivated, and that's where they end up giving up on goals. And he talks about it in the book. He's like, man, if it's taking you too long to get to hit something, dude, raise it and get recommitted to it. And just like what you talked about earlier, when you talked about how committed you got to the 3 deals in 90 days, you need to create that for yourself sometimes. So you need to like readjust. That's why what you're talking about right now, looking at your goals every single day, is so important, because you got to go back and find out, hey, man, how long have I been writing this goal down?
Yeah.
Should I have gotten this done already? Maybe I don't even care about it. Maybe there's something different, So just playing with your goals every day. It's like you said, it's a daily tweak that you got to work with.
Yeah, there's been goals that I'm like, I'll look back because I keep all the books that I write them down in, and sometimes I'll look back. I'm like, man, I've been writing that thing down for a long time, and then I'm like, do I really want that? Like, can I really get committed to that? And I've taken goals and just thrown them right the heck out, because I'm like, I obviously don't want it bad enough, and I'm not committed to that, so it's out of here. Let me get refocused on what the most important things are and what I'm truly committed to. Maybe I'll commit to that later, but right now it's not on my radar. I got to get refocused. And so that daily practice has been a game changer for me, for sure.
Totally. Yeah. And it's throwing the goals out, sometimes. I remember writing down, I wrote down for like probably a couple years that I was driving a Lamborghini, and, I've been probably, I don't know how you see it, but I've been eligible to buy a Lamborghini for a long time. I go down to the store, buy one, qualified, got the money. But dude, it just wasn't but you talk to me about real estate, dude, I'll freaking drop, I'll put everything out. If you got a good deal, dude, I will scrape everything out of my bank account today.
Yeah.
I will find more money tomorrow. I will do everything possible. And I started to realize that, dude, that was what got me excited. The car was cool. And I'll probably have one of those one day. That's cool. I still like that.
Sure.
But that was not the thing that was firing me up. And the real estate was firing me up when I was seeing good deals. And I was like, and I think there's this magic in real estate where there's just so much with it. There's the deal, there's the possibility of improvement. There's like, hey, you get this imagination where you're like, dude, if I get that deal, and you start playing with, and what if I adjust that? I raise the rents here, and you start thinking long term. You're like, man, what could I change that? Like that stuff got me jacked up, and I realized that about my goals. I'm like, dude, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super strong, man. That is awesome. So, there's a big movement out there. And I believe in it, or I agree with it to some degree, but a lot of gurus out there are talking about, hey, leave your 9 to 5, do this with me, and leave your 9 to 5 and go do whatever it is you want. And I'm always cautious. Like, it would be great to be free and to do, real estate 100% of the time. That would be great for me. But I'm always cautious to say, all right, cool, let's get there. But can you maximize what you have in front of you at your current gig, right? Can you make more money? Can you sell more? Can you get, more commissions? And maybe maximize that first before you just up and leave. And so I'm always careful to say, yes, financial freedom, not having to work a 9 to 5 and working in something that you're passionate about and ultimately has bigger results down the road. I believe that's valuable. But sometimes you got to just maximize where you're at first, even if you're not passionate about it. But Cardone talks about all the time, right? He hated sales. He was selling cars and didn't like it, but got good at it. And I think it started that momentum for him. So, I couldn't
agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, you just look at what I'm doing today. I invest with somebody who takes my money, invested into other properties. I do shop deals. We were talking before we recorded, like I'm doing my homework every single day. I am underwriting deals. I'm looking at deals every single day. Like I know what's in the market. Like I'll underwrite deals that I know that I would never buy because they're just not what I want, but I want to understand them.
Yeah.
So I spend a little bit of time every day just educating myself on that because I want to be ready. But I'm spending all my time in my job. I think most people, they want that. They want, and I'm going to put that, like, there's a lot of gurus out there that I like. And then there's a lot of people that I don't always agree with their advice because they might be saying, hey, come do this, get out of your job to do this. And what people don't understand is, dude, that guru right there is doing their job every day. It's not real estate. They're selling programs. And so I'm like, man, use the opportunity. Like, but I agree with a lot of these gurus because I know a lot of them and I know there's a lot of really good ones. What happens though, is I think for most people, they should look in front of them to find out, man, what's the opportunity in front of me? Because for me in sales of where I'm at right now, man, I can move my income is probably probably from the first year is I'm doing like 25x what I was doing the first year that I came here, and probably everything that I was doing before that. Maybe not 25, maybe closer to 20.
Yeah.
But, still but look at that. Like, even if my income just went up $100,000 or $200,000, whatever, how much real estate am I going to have to do to get that? And so the way I see it, because I'm so passionate about real estate, is I know that what I'm doing right now is going to give me everything that I want and need to be able to do more real estate in the future. And that's the way I view it. And that's what I'm doing every single day. Yeah. So I put a lot of attention on my job because I see that I can, a big commission check. And this too, like imagine, like, let's just say I worked an extra hour every single day, and I add 6 hours to my week, and I add 24 hours to the month. And all of a sudden that became 5 extra deals, and that became 60 extra deals in the year. Well, that's almost probably a whole other income.
Yeah.
And I stack that onto what I'm trying to do in real estate. Now I'm just playing a bigger game, and that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that point of view, and I'm always, like I said, if people just, if they're not happy where they're at, and they see there's no way, there's no commissions, there's no way of getting more out of their job. I get it. Yeah, let's get the heck out of there and let's do something else.
Mhm.
But I'm always caught. Hey, let's just think about this first before we just completely jump away from that. So that's a good point of
Yeah.
view. I love that.
I think, and I'll tell you another reason why, and this has to do with real estate, by the way. So when I grew up, my family owned, we had 7 rental houses, and kind of like it was an older neighborhood. It was kind of like, it wasn't the worst neighborhood,
Yeah.
but it was slightly tougher and old product. And man, like we were always there. Well, there were 7 of them, so imagine, you got that many problems, and we were always there working on them. So like as a kid, I was there with my dad all the time. We were always working on something. We were fixing a toilet. We were fixing a gutter.
Yeah.
Somebody this, something that, and we were painting, or somebody was moving out and we had to redo it. And I just always, like, I got to witness that part.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I just want to buy a little bit. I want to buy a little bit higher quality of product. That's just my personal preference, So I'm just looking at everything rather than just up and dropping my job to try to go, live a passive lifestyle,
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect, man. This has been great. I got a couple of kind of final questions here. What is your favorite business or self-help book that you've read? And maybe it's the one we've been talking about, but
it's probably the 10X rule. But I think there's another book that I really like. I would actually say the 10X rule, and then Be Obsessed or Be Average.
Yeah,
it's one that I listen to all the time, and I imagine you probably listen to it.
Yep.
Two reasons. One, he wrote about me in that book. Two, it's just, man, it's the right message.
Yeah.
It's the right message. It gives you permission to go all in. It gives you permission to be obsessed. When I started this whole thing off with environment, and you got a lot of people around you like, man, you work too much and all that. And it just kind of gives you the permission to go after what you want.
Yeah. Be obsessed or be average. I love that. So when you're not slinging sales training and other stuff and being 10X, what else do you like to do? What are some hobbies, passions?
Dude, I'm big. So I run every single day. I do. I do a minimum of 2.5 miles per day, but I live here in Miami, and I like to go out to the beach. There's if like calisthenics workouts, and the people out there, like we're out here, there's like the Miami bar stars, man. These people are freaks, and the things that they can do, like in the world. I mean, these people have like 0% body fat. It's wild out there, but it's like the things that they're doing really inspire me. And so I really like that. I like to watch sports and be active. And so I definitely have that side of me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So what is, and we've kind of touched on it, this question should probably be asked at the beginning, but what is your why? What motivates you the most in just in doing all that you're doing?
Freedom, I think, is the one thing I think about the most. It's the one thing that I probably write. Like if I would attach most of the things I talk about in my goal setting, it just comes down to like freedom, and I just want freedom with everything. I want to be able to have financial freedom, so I'm the way that I look like, hey, what do I need to get done to do that? What business do I need to create? What deals do I need to go after? What real estate do I need to buy? I think about that because I want that same freedom that I have financially, with my family. I want us to be able, I don't want to have to go somewhere and be like, wow, we can't do that, And so when I have my family, my kids, and we go and we do things, like I want to be able to say, dude, where do you want to go? What do you want to do today? And let's go do that.
Yeah.
And I'm just working for everything to just have that. Like for me, when I see the end goal, like, I want to be able to help a lot of people too, so there's that factor. Like that's one thing I write down on my goals, is that I'm helping a lot of people, that I'm helping more people every single day, so, I want to have the freedom to be able to do that. I think there's a lot of people on this planet that they need help, they want help. And I think I can do a good job just at the things that I know that if I can help people, then that would be excellent. So I think just bigger in all areas and having the freedom to do that is probably.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the core messages of the project is freedom of time and money. I cringe every time I say stuff like this. And when I hear other people say stuff like this, where they say, I like to do this, but I don't because I don't have time or I can't afford it. And I'm like, well, man, like if that's something you're passionate about and you'd love to do it, whether it's traveling with your friends and family or a certain hobby, and you're like, yeah, I used to do it, but then I got busy with my career. I'm like, man, that's backwards, man. Like we should be figuring out how we can live the life we want because we have freedom of time and money. So anytime I hear somebody say, I can't afford it, I don't have time, like, let's figure this out. Like, let's solve that problem. Let's figure out how we can get you time and money. And there's obviously tons of different ways to do that. Real estate happens to be the one I picked, but that's perfect.
I think, and to hit on that, I've had some experiences in my life. Like I'm very charitable too. So I've done a lot of donating of money and time for multiple different charities. But I remember when I first had donated some money, I remember feeling very passionate about this project that this group was doing. And honestly, the thing that made me feel bad was I wasn't able to do more. And it kind of fired me up because I felt like, man, they need a lot and somebody needs to take that responsibility, because what they were doing was going to help a lot of people. And I felt that, dude, I should have done more to be able to contribute more. And so I think when this comes back to viewpoint too, like, how do you view things? Like, do you view your job as something that takes from you, or is it giving you an opportunity to produce and contribute? And, because if you're a good person, then you're going to do all the right things, just like me. Like, I'm a good person. So when I started to, get a hold of some money, it came with investing. It came with putting some in myself. And then it came a lot with some, charitable donations to some great causes. And, that's where, like, man, you got to have it all. It can't just be this narrow in life. You really got to, look at everything as a whole and make sure that you're like creating a life, not just creating, you don't just have a job, or you just have a family, well, I can't do good at my job because, man, we got to have time for the family. So like that would wreck not just what's happening at your job or your family, man, it's going to wreck all those things,
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. And that actually leads right into my next question of, what are some ways that you give back? And you kind of mentioned some of them already, but anything you want to add to what you've already said about giving back and helping others?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things that I think I do that a lot of people could do too. Like, if you ever felt like, man, I want to do something, I think, hey, just look out for people. Like I talk a lot about, I'm active on social media. I try to help a lot of people. I'm always responding to people that ask for help. Don't always turn people away because you don't have time. You should look for opportunities to cause a great effect on people. I've donated, several to many charities. I've done, just being somebody that can act, being somebody that's reliable is something good too. Like, how do people view you? Maybe you view yourself one way, but dude, like, if I were to go around and ask the people around you, like, hey, how do you view this guy? I want people to be like, dude, this guy's great. Like, hey, he helps out. This guy can produce. This guy can get the job done. Like, I want good thing after good thing after good thing said. And, and I think that's the type of legacy that I'm trying to leave, just to cause a positive effect.
That's perfect, man. I love it. I love it. So, how if people want to reach out to you, contact you, follow you, where can they find you, man?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on all different types of social medias. I'm just at Steve Spray. It's STEVESPRAY. You can follow me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You guys can find me on any of those. You guys can reach out to me. If you guys want to send me an email, if you have questions about anything we talk about, send me an email to steve@grantcardone.com. I'd be happy to talk to anybody, so just like you, man, I'm here to help out.
Perfect, man. We'll put all that in the show notes for sure. Man, Steve, thank you. I thought that was a very good conversation. I love talking about the mindset and the 10X mentality, and I hope that we provided some good content for the listeners today. Seriously, thanks for taking your time. I know you could be doing a lot of different things right now, but seriously, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, man. This is right in line with my purpose, and so I just want to say thank you to you for having me on, man, and hopefully all your listeners got a lot of value.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the Money Maven Project podcast. A true maven shares knowledge with others, so be sure to share this podcast and leave a review. Thanks so much, and until next time, live life with intention.